Hello everybody, my name is Kukura, and I just got a question to start with the presentation today. How many of us in here are college athletes? So a couple of us, and we can talk from first-hand experience how hard it is, being a college athlete, doing well in school, and also if you have time to maintain a job. And this is what my presentation over is today, why college athletes should be compensated. So just a little intro to my presentation. These are the points I'll be going over about why they should be compensated. Number one, how much money the NCAA makes off of college athletics. Two, the time and effort of the athletes that they put in. Three, using the athlete's image to generate revenue for the NCAA. Four, it would limit NCAA allegations. And five, it would get athletes to stay in school longer. So this brings me to my first point. Because of how much money the NCAA generates off of college athletics, the numbers are staggering, and people question why the athletes don't see any of this money. The NCAA generates around $11 billion annually. That comes from Listland.com. And the three main sports being football, basketball, and baseball. And you would think that some of these, that the players would see, at least a little bit of this money, but they don't. So when the fans go to the athletic events, they pay the money out of their pocket, for tickets. They go to see the athletes. They don't go to see the NCAA executives sit in the stands or the coaches sit on the sidelines. These athletes risk injuries and sacrifice their mind and body for the game that they love. And they see none of that $11 million. For example, March Madness tournament that the NCAA holds generates $900 million annually. Mostly from ticket sales and broadcasting rights from CBS and Turner Sports. You might ask, where does this money go? This money goes to NCAA executives, and also goes back to the universities to pay their faculty and staff. And that brings me to the coaches' salaries, which I think is pretty ridiculous. Coach K from Duke University makes just under $9 million a year just to coach, and Nick Saban from the University of Alabama makes over $7 million a year. I have a short clip here. This is Colin Coward. He's a sports analyst. He has his own radio show. He's just talking about how ridiculous it is and how much money the NCAA actually makes. I'm not sure.
$1 million scoreboards, just like the cat that gets Botox, or the gold-plated aquarium. They've got smoothie bars, they've got, it's ridiculous now. These college football programs, the big ones, they don't even know what to do with the money. They're giving Botox to their cats. They don't even know. Arcade centers, $25 million on a scoreboard. They don't know what to do with the money. So I had a tipping point moment yesterday, and a tipping point is, Malcolm Gladwell wrote the book about tipping points. That's when there's a magic moment when an idea, trend, social behavior sort of crosses a threshold in America and catches fire, wildfire, right? And here's a tipping point moment for those that think you shouldn't pay the college athletes. And I was always under the impression that for the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the 90s, 2000, a lot of these athletic departments weren't Ohio State. Yesterday, the USA Today reported, that the SEC alone, just the SEC conference, posted revenue of $527 million during the first year of the SEC network. Okay, time to give the cat Botox.
So that just shows you a little bit, how much money the NCAA makes, and they really don't even know what to do with the money anymore. That brings me to my second reason, the time the athletes spend on their sport. The average American who works a full-time job works around 40 hours per week. I got that from the BusinessInsider.com. These student athletes are doing the same for their teams, going to practice, watching film and weight training. But don't forget that these students also have to go to school, and most of these student athletes, they have to maintain a certain GPA and do well enough in school to maintain their athletic scholarships. So if you put all those numbers together, student athletes end up working around 85 hours per week. on athletes or on athletics in school. A lot of the NCAA executives sit around their office for 40 hours a week and reap the benefits that these athletes work so hard for. For a lot of these athletes, they come into school, not having a lot of money in the first place to support themselves, and even some of them have to, support their families. I think by paying these athletes, that'll take a lot of these problems away. I put this graphic up here just kind of comparing student athletes to non-student athletes, just total hours per week and what they do. But this number right here would actually double if a student athlete wanted to get a job and work to make some money on the side and maybe provide for their family, and that would take the total hours per week up to around 85. So my third reason is the NCAA makes money off players' image or their likeness. Has anybody ever seen somebody walk around a college campus, with a college football jersey on, with Johnny Manziel jersey or college basketball jersey on? Because I know I have a couple of them. And these universities often sell them, those jerseys, in university bookstores, or you can find them online wherever you want to. And you would think, whenever a jersey would sell, with an athlete's name or number on it, that they would get some kind of money from that, but they don't. They can't do anything about it. So these universities are using the athletes to create revenue for their school, and the athlete really can't do anything about it. And so in 2004, ESPN's Darren Rovell, he tracked the jersey sales of Chris Duhon, who's a basketball player at the University of Duke, and Ben Gordon, who's a basketball player at the University of UConn. He tracked these jersey sales from January to April, just a 4-month span, just to see how much these athletes' jerseys were making for their university. He found that Chris Duhon sold, his jersey sold about 3,570 times, and Ben Gordon 2,100 times. If these athletes just received a 4% cut from the profits, Chris Duhon would have made $3,034, and Ben Gordon would have made $1,785. And for a lot of the student athletes, we know that we could use some extra money, on the side, just because, just to provide for ourselves, to kind of use to do whatever we please. And another example, EA Sports and the NCAA teamed up, and they made a video games, NCAA football. They also had NCAA basketball games out for a while. And, in these video games, like I said, they're using the athlete's image, like this right here, Denard Robinson on the cover of NCAA football, just using their image and their likeness to pretty much make money for their company, EA Sports, and the NCAA. Eventually, those games got shut down because obviously players, they didn't like seeing that. So, the fourth reason, it would limit NCAA allegations. In recent years, we have seen this a lot. Some schools have been paying recruits with money to get them to come to the school. Just this past year, Arizona's head basketball coach, Sean Miller, he paid a recruit $100,000 just to bribe the athlete to come pay for him. This is just one out of many college basketball allegations that came out recently. And another example was a couple years back, Cam Newton, he's the Auburn quarterback, I think 3, 4, 5 years back. And his football coach, that Auburn University football coach, was actually paying Cam Newton's family to bribe him to come to school. I got that from the Chicago Tribune. Now, I feel like if they paid the players, these allegations would definitely slow down because everybody would be getting paid and couldn't be used as a recruiting tool. So that brings me to my last reason. Athletes would be staying in school longer. In recent years, we have seen athletes either skip school entirely or just go for a year and then go play professionally to make money for themselves. They do this because they think that they need the money to kind of support themselves and their families. In my opinion, if they were getting paid, I think some of these schools, or some of these players would stay in school to finish their education. And I think this is important because, with athletics, in the NBA and the NFL, we always see injuries, shorten a guy's career. And I think if guys were given the reason to kind of stay in school longer, if they were to get injured, I feel like an education will give them something to fall back on, post their athletic careers. So this brings us to the question of how do we pay them? This is a very tough question to answer. One of the reasons that athletes aren't getting paid today is because of how difficult it would be to do it. There's a lot that goes into it. Some issues are how they're going to pay them, whether it's yearly, monthly, after the career is over, after the year is over, or just how much are you going to calculate how much each player would get paid. Because obviously some players have more important roles than other players on the teams. And in my opinion, I think the athletes should get a check after every year, just all the same amount across the board. And the amount that they would get would be based on how much money the schools bring into the NCAA. So therefore, bigger schools would get more money than the smaller ones, and this would only happen for scholarship athletes. I think another thing, because some college athletes get a lot more exposure than the other. We talk about jersey sales, and I think you would have to kind of find a way to cut a percentage out of the jersey sales and stuff like that to give to these college athletes after their career is over. So in conclusion, this is a highly debated topic. It will be for many years to come, but I think it needs to change. Athletes put so much hard work into making it to college and playing sports their whole life. This policy change is very important to a lot of athletes, and it needs to happen sooner rather than later so the athletes know that they're appreciated and that their sacrifices aren't going unnoticed. Thank you.